Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 11 start and sit video for the quarterback position. There are obviously 4 teams on a bye this week. You've got the Dolphins, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, and the Jaguars. So realistically, quarterback-wise, you're obviously missing Geno, Brady, Lawrence, and then, of course, Tua, who has been fantastic this season. So there are a lot of, unfortunately, good players that are not going to be playing this week. So this video hopefully should help clear up who you should be starting and sitting to get you another victory. Again, getting closer and closer to the playoffs. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that like button while you are here. It is greatly appreciated, and we're going to jump right into this. So, obvious starts. These are your obvious quarterbacks you should be starting. I've got a little bit longer list than normal, just because there are some quarterbacks who are doing phenomenal, and of course, some based off of matchups. These should be guys you should be starting in your lineup without question. Now, of course, you guys do have questions. Hit us up in the comments. That's what we're here for. Help kind of answer those questions for you. Give you reasons why we should start or sit somebody, and then you can make that final decision for your roster. Now, as far as the first quarterback I recommend as a good start, it's going to be Daniel Jones versus the Lions. Hey, let's risk it for the biscuit. Danny Dimes has a great matchup against the Detroit Lions. Lions are on a little bit of a 2-win streak, which is great for the NFL. At least I believe so. But defensively, they're still struggling, allowing the most points to quarterbacks with 23.7 and over 260 passing yards. The last 3 games, they allowed Fields 43 points, Aaron Rodgers 22 points, Tua 33 points. Need I say more? I mean, at this point, the Lions are a team that if you have any fantasy players playing against them, should be in your lineup for the most part. And I like Daniel Jones's upside again. Fields had a field day, pun intended. Again, a lot on running the ball. His passing is obviously still something he needs to improve upon, but his rushing ability is what makes him such a huge playmaker. And Daniel Jones can run the ball as well. Obviously not quite as athletic or as fast as Fields, but Daniel Jones is a very sneaky play, and he can do that as well on the ground. Hopefully his receivers can play a little bit more in this game. Using Saquon will help, but I like Daniel Jones as a nice little sneaky play. Russell Wilson's my next quarterback as a good start versus the Raiders. Earlier this year, Russell Wilson put up 28 points in fantasy against the Raiders. Raiders give up the second most points with 22.6 and 260 passing yards as well, like the Lions. Lowest points allowed to a quarterback this season by the Raiders was 19 points, and that was Andy Dalton. Otherwise, you're getting 20 or more points every single week against them. So again, I know Russell Wilson, this is his second week on my start list. He didn't do phenomenal last weekend, which I wish he had performed. He only did about 15 points with 286 passing yards. He did lose Jerry Jeudy in that game, which it is going to play a factor in this. Don't get me wrong. Jerry Jeudy not playing will affect this performance a little bit. They are getting KJ Hamler. He should at least be playing. Obviously, you have Sutton, Dolchik at tight end, the plethora of running backs they have. I could still see Russell Wilson performing realistically pretty well in this matchup. Aaron Rodgers is another quarterback I recommend starting this week versus the Titans. Now, I will tell you as a Cowboys fan, I absolutely dread Aaron Rodgers. The Cowboys are 2-9 against him, and I watching that game just killed me on the inside because it was a game they could have won, should have won, and unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers has that magic against Dallas and obviously came out with the victory. With that said, he had a great performance against Dallas, who typically is a pretty good defensive team. He had 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and Dallas just underperformed drastically, whether it be the run or allowing Christian Watson over the top. Now he's playing a Titans defense that allows over 300 passing yards and 20.2 points to quarterbacks. So this is a really good matchup for Aaron Rodgers to play this week. He's a safe 16 to 18 point bet, could possibly finish even more, and being in that top 10 finish at the quarterback position for you guys this week, so I like him as a good start. Now, as far as sits go, the first guy I have is Derek Carr versus the Broncos. Derek struggled the first matchup this season against Denver, being held to 13 points and under 200 passing yards with 0 touchdowns. Carr's finally got a little bit more of a connection and comfort with Devontae Adams, but losing Renfrow and Waller for the next 4 games does not help at all. Hollins really hasn't shown up. Foster Moreau is okay. He's a decent tight end. But again, on top of that, Denver is one of the best at holding quarterbacks. They only allow 10.8 points in under 200 passing yards every single game. They just held Trevor Lawrence to 12 points, Justin Herbert to 12 points. They're a really good defensive team, and they've just been phenomenal all season. So as far as Derek Carr goes, I don't feel comfortable playing him at all. I'm sitting him this week. Now, Matt Ryan's another one I'm going to sit. He's going against the Eagles. Matt Ryan is back and had a good game. He finished with 22 points in fantasy, 2 touchdowns combined, 1 on the ground, 1 in the air. He does have a tougher matchup against the Eagles this week, who will allow only 11.4 points to quarterbacks. They just kept Heineke at 6 points. I know it didn't seem like it with that loss. It seemed a lot bigger, but Taylor Heineke only had 6 points in fantasy. So again, realistically, the Eagles do a really good job. And with the lack of receiving weapons, really hinders Matt Ryan. You've got obviously Pittman. Alec Pierce has kind of disappeared. No great tight ends. Jonathan Taylor finally had a good game. Could it happen again? Maybe, because the Eagles did give up a lot of rushing to Washington, and they've actually done that the last 2 games. So they might rely on the running game, which kind of puts Matt Ryan to the side. So I don't feel comfortable. And at this point, the only reason you should ever start Matt Ryan if it's a super flex. Otherwise, do not start him in redraft. Jacoby Brissett's my last guy I don't recommend this week. He's going against the Bills. Now, Bills did allow Kirk Cousins to have a great game, and that was a crazy game in general if you guys watched that. Not the norm for this defense, though. Brissett is going against the tough Bills that only allow 13.2 points in fantasy and only 230 passing yards. Brissett has been serviceable while Watson's been on suspension, but again, pretty inconsistent as well. And in a traditional single quarterback league, non-super flex, Brissett shouldn't be starting this week. He may get you 12 to 14 points if you are in Superflex. You may obviously have to start him. But this game is just, I don't believe this is going to be really one you should start. Now, as far as sleepers, I didn't really have anybody great in this aspect, just because realistically, I've got a really large amount of obvious starts and some really good ones here. And that should put you in that top 10 to 12 point range of players you should be starting in the quarterback position. So if you guys do have sleepers that I maybe didn't mention or starts you should be, hit us in the comments down below. Again, we're all here to help each other out in this fantasy community, unless you're going against each other, of course, in your league. But if you guys do have questions, hit us up in the comments. If you guys did enjoy the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell is on. It is greatly appreciated. Of course, if you also enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button. Just smash that button real quick. It is greatly appreciated. You guys have been a fantastic community. You guys are awesome. Again, if you have questions, hit us in the comments. If you haven't already, check out our waiver wire video. Stay tuned to our start and sits for the running back, wide receiver, and tight end, and I'll check you guys out next time.